So we are now rushing headlong to the end of the church year, which will finish in a couple of weeks with the Feast of Christ the King, that magnificent feast instituted by Pope Pius XI, I think in 1925. And then we'll begin the beautiful, gentle, graceful, gracious season of Advent, focusing on John the Baptist, then on the Virgin Mary, and then ultimately on the Christ child and the Holy Family. We have from the Gospel of Mark the end times. We have first in the Gospel the description of cataclysmic moments, which obviously will happen at the end of the world, but they happen very, very frequently as well in our daily life, and you can talk to almost any human being and they will tell you of those cataclysmic moments. And then the Gospel then moves to saying at this very point, at those moments, those cataclysmic moments, we have the glory of Christ coming at us. It's a fascinating Gospel, and it's very, very reassuring. In the middle of the readings, so the first reading is from Daniel. Again, it's sort of leading us to cataclysmic moments and the glory and the resurrection of the just and the resurrection of the unjust. One group to eternal life with beatitude with God, the other dwelling in the place of Hades or hell, as we name it, those people that have lost their eternal relationship with God, unfortunately. That's the first reading in Daniel. And the Gospel there, and wedged between it in the middle is this magnificent reading from the letter to the Hebrews. And that tells us what to do at moments that are cataclysmic, what to do when we're really faced with great difficulties on all sides. And the letter to the Hebrews speaks most eloquently about the one priesthood of Christ. In this particular reading, it's talking about the one sacrifice of Christ, the one great act of love that has inserted itself into human history. Christ offering himself to his Father in obedience, turning around the disobedience of Adam, and Christ offering himself for us. Beautiful description of the Eucharist. That is, that the great act of love of Christ, his offering to his Father and his offering for us, flows over into those Eucharistic words, for this is my body, for this is my blood, an offering to the Father in faithfulness to him, obedience to him, and an offering made for us. So there's nothing better than we can do than in moments of cataclysmic moments, I should say, nothing better that we can do than remain very, very faithful to the Eucharistic sacrifice and the reception of the Eucharist. This will be the event that helps us sort out cataclysmic moments, because it itself was a profoundly cataclysmic moment for Christ. This physical annihilation and the psychological damnation by the mob must have been so difficult for Jesus, and yet in the midst of it all, he finds this depth of love, offers himself to the Father and for us, and it's passed over. As I say, it flows over into the sacraments. This is why in the early church, and to finish on this, is why in the early church, one of the names they gave the Eucharist, which is a word which means thanksgiving, another very, very early turn of phrase was, this is the medicine of immortality. It's a wonderful phrase. We need medicine, we need healing, and we want something that's going to take us through death into the immortality of life with Christ himself.